The pinnacle of the wisdom and practices of the ancient sages of yoga is contained in the terse 12 verses of the Mandukya Upanishad, which outlines the philosophy and practices of the Om mantra. It has been said that the juice of the Vedas is in the Upanishads, and the juice of the Upanishads is in the Mandukya Upanishad. Om mantra is also suggested as a direct route to samadhi in the Yoga Sutras. The teachings of Mandukya Upanishad are well worth deep study, discussion, reflection, and contemplation. By faithfully and intently engaging these 12 verses, all of the other written and oral teachings can be explored as expansions of the foundation principles and practices encapsulated in this succinct summary. It is not only a most insightful writing, but also a complete outline for sadhana, enlightenment practices. The Om mantra is a roadmap of the entire process of sadhana and a most practical tool for self-realization. One of the other 100+ Upanishads, the Mukti Upanishad, Mukti means liberation, explains that for those who are seeking liberation, the understanding and practicing of the principles of the Mandukya Upanishad is sufficient for attaining that realization. Verses 1 to 2 describe the Self and the Absolute. Verses 3 to 7 explain the 4 levels of consciousness. Verses 8 to 12 outline the 4 aspects of Om mantra. Briefly, the 12 verses are: 1. All is Om. 2. Is about the Self, Atman, Brahman. 3. Is about the waking state, or Vaishvanara. 4. Is about dreaming, or Tejasa. 5. Is about deep sleep, prajna. 6. Is about the experiencer of those 3. 7. Is about the 4th state, or turiya. 8. Is about the of Om mantra. 9. Is about the of Om. 10. Is about the of Om. 11 is about the of Om. And 12 is about the silence after Om. Verses 1 to 2 are about the Self and the Absolute. Verse 1. All is Om. The whole universe is the syllable Om. Following is the exposition of Om. Everything that was, is, or will be is, in truth, Om. All else which transcends time, space, and causation is also Om. Verse 2. Atman has 4 aspects. All of this, everywhere, is in truth Brahman, the absolute reality. This very Self itself, Atman, is also Brahman, the absolute reality. This Atman, or Self, has 4 aspects through which it operates. Verses 3 to 7 are on the 4 levels of consciousness. Verse 3. First is waking, or gross. The first aspect of Atman is the Self in the waking state, Vaishvanara. In this state, consciousness is turned outward to the external world. Through its 7 instruments and 19 channels, it experiences the gross objects of the phenomenal world. Briefly, those 7 instruments are space, air, fire, water, and earth, along with the individuation from the whole and the flow of energy. The individual operates through 19 channels, which are the 4 functions of mind: manas, chitta, ahankara, and buddhi. These 4 operate through 5 pranas, which are prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyanavayu. The 5 active senses, or indriyas, the karmendriyas of eliminating, procreating, moving, grasping, and speaking. And the 5 cognitive senses, the jnanendriyas of smelling, tasting, seeing, touching, and hearing. Verse 4. The second aspect of Atman is the Self in the dreaming state, Tejasa. In this second state, consciousness is turned towards the inner world. It also operates through 7 instruments and 19 channels, which engage the subtle objects of the mental realm. Verse 5. Third is deep sleep, the causal. The third aspect of Atman is the Self operating in the deep sleep state, prajna. In this third state, there is neither the desire for any gross or subtle object, nor any dream sequences. In deep sleep, all such experiences have receded or merged into the ground of undifferentiated consciousness. Here one is filled with the experience of bliss, and can also find the way to clearer knowledge of the two preceding states. Verse 6. Find the experiencer. The one who experiences all of these states of consciousness is the omniscient, indwelling source and director of all. This one is the womb out of which all of the other emerges. All things originate from and dissolve back into this source. Verse 7. The fourth aspect of Atman or Self is Turiya, literally the fourth. In this fourth state, consciousness is neither turned outward nor inward, nor is it both outward and inward. It is beyond both cognition and the absence of cognition. This fourth state of Turiya cannot be experienced through the senses or known by comparison, deductive reasoning, or inference. It is indescribable, incomprehensible, and unthinkable with the mind. This is pure consciousness itself. This is the real self. It is within the cessation of all phenomena. It is serene, tranquil, filled with bliss, and is one without a second. This is the real or true self that is to be realized. Verses 8 to 12 are the four aspects of Om. Verse 8. Those four levels of consciousness are the same with the A, U, and silence. That Om, though described as having four states, is indivisible. It is pure consciousness itself. That consciousness is Om. The three sounds A, U, and the letters A, U, M are identical with the three states of waking, dreaming, and sleeping. And these three states are identical with the three sounds and letters. The fourth state, Turiya, is to be realized only in the silence behind or beyond the other three. Verse 9. The sound A is waking, gross. Vaishvanara is the consciousness experienced during the waking state, and is A, or A, the first letter of Om. That simple sound of A is first and permeates all other sounds. One who is aware of this level of reality has fulfillment of all longings and is successful. Verse 10. The sound U is dreaming, subtle. Tejasa is the consciousness experienced during the dreaming state, and is U, the second letter of Om. This intermediate state operates between the waking and sleeping states, reflecting some qualities of the other two. One who knows this subtler state is superior to others, for one who knows this, knowers of Brahman, the absolute reality, will be born into his or her family. Verse 11. The sound is deep sleep, causal. Prajna is the consciousness experienced during the state of dreamless, deep sleep, and is or M, the third letter of Om. It contains the other two, and is that from which the other two emerge, and into which they recede or merge. A knower of this more subtle state can understand all that is within himself or herself. Verse 12. The silence after A, U, is the true self. The fourth aspect is the soundless aspect of Om. It is not utterable and is not comprehended through the senses or by the mind. With the cessation of all phenomena, even of bliss, this soundless aspect becomes known. It is a state of non-dual, Advaita, reality, one without a second. This fourth state, Turiya, is the real self or true self. One with direct experience of this expands to universal consciousness. Om. Om.